everyone, and welcome back for week 6 of the Wolfe Draft League. This week we battle against UziGunner, who has had such a strong start to his first ever VGC Draft League season. He already comes in with a lot of experience from other Pokemon Draft League formats, but it's been especially cool to see how well he has adjusted to the VGC format, and taking down Cybertron and Mountay is no easy feat. Currently in the season, we are 1-4, so this week is especially important to see if we can finish the season strong. Today, we face off against Uzi's Thunderclap Titans, and then for our final week, we take on Mountay and the Immunity Idols. And this week, we may have found an unbeatable strategy. The Thunderclap Titans consist of Dragapult, Whimsicott, Piloswine, Araquanid, Hisuian Typhlosion, Gallade, Berserker, Toxtricity, Dunsparce, and Malamar. And as a reminder, the shoutcasting Sylveons are Garchomp, Tyranitar, Clefable, Fletchinder, Gyarados, Scyther, Rotom-Mow, Hitmontop, Houndstone, and Alcremie. You may be thinking, but how can this plan be so foolproof? There are so many different combinations of Pokemon, movesets, held items, and Pokemon abilities that could be brought to a match, and you're not going to know any of that information until you get in-game. Well, that's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked. In a Draft League, your options are limited because you only have access to the Pokemon that are on your team roster. This can be both a benefit in that there are less options you have to worry about your opponent having, but it also limits your own ability to deal with them. While it's rare to find a strategy that your opponent really can't stop, it can happen. And in fact, it happened to us when we played against PokeAim back in week 2. We prepared for one ability on the Archaludon, and then when it ended up being something else, the tools that we had on the team just weren't well set up to be able to deal with this strategy, so we had no matchup. I also did some bad things while in game, but I try not to remember that. Uzi's team usually focuses on either dealing big damage fast or setting up a trick room and taking an advantage that way. And we have a duo that just so happens to match up favorably against both of those game plans. It's time for the big reveal. Our super duo of the week is going to be Tyranitar and Hitmontop. Tyranitar's dual rock dark typing already makes it an absolute nightmare for Uzi's fast mode to deal with, since Hisuian Typhlosion and Dragapult are just not going to have a good time in front of it. We've got Rock Slide and Knockoff to take care of them. Tyranitar will also be carrying an Assault Vest just to make it even more annoying for Uzi to apply pressure to. And we'll be running Terra Fairy to wall Dragapult's dragon moves, as well as to turn Tyranitar's 4x fighting weakness into a resist. I think this takes care of Uzi's fast mode, so as an adjustment, it makes sense that he would lean more on the Trick Room mode. Small problem, Trick Room takes some time to get going because you need a turn to actually set up the Trick Room. Second small problem, all of Uzi's Trick Room sweepers are physical attackers, and that's where Hitmontop comes in. Tyranitar's buddy Hitmontop has the ability Intimidate, but far more importantly, it will be carrying the move Coaching this week, which will boost Tyranitar's attack and defense by 1 stage when used. Combined with the Assault Vest's boost to Tyranitar's special defense, we'll truly be creating the Alpha Raid boss. Uzi has a number of ways to ignore Intimidate though. He has a number of Pokemon with abilities that can do that, such as Piloswine's Oblivious and Malamar's Contrary. There is also the Clear Amulet held item, but the only way around Coaching's defense boosts is going to be the Gallade's Sacred Sword, which is a fighting type move that ignores the target's defense and evasion changes. Terra Fairy Tyranitar will conveniently resist and can also deliver some super effective Terra Blasts back. Uzi's options to actually punish Terra Fairy this week are Berserker's Steel type moves and Toxtricity's Poison type moves, but both of these guys have a pretty negative matchup into the rest of my roster, so I'd be surprised if he leaned heavily on them. Just in case though, Tyranitar will be carrying High Horsepower as a coverage option, allowing it to remove either of them with a single tap. We will also have Garchomp. Tyranitar was a superstar for us in week 1, but the rest of the season, Tyranitar has just been kind of along for the ride. That's why this week, I'm really hoping Tyranitar has a chance to shine. As a reminder, Tyranitar has an attack stat of 134, so with an adamant nature and a +1 attack boost from Coaching, Tyranitar will actually be able to one-hit knock out most of Uzi's team, even with a neutral knockoff hit. Hitmontop will also be carrying Feint, allowing it to break through Protector Wide Guard to make sure that Tyranitar's attacks hit their mark. We do have 4 more Pokemon to cover, but the strategy this week is truly centered around this duo, so I prioritize playing some mind games with the rest of my Pokemon selection to try to hide it. Clefable can protect Tyranitar once the setup plan is complete. Its only real job is to click Follow Me, but it also has Heal Pulse in case it wants to heal up Tyranitar. I'm choosing to run Terra Ground on Clefable this week specifically to scare Uzi's Toxtricity. As a reminder, while we are playing closed team sheet, our Terra types are revealed before the match. Toxtricity generally carries only electric and poison type attacks, which Terra Ground Clefable walls by resisting poison type damage and being immune to the electric. The idea is that while I may not lean on the Terra Ground on Clefable, I'm forcing Uzi to respect that possibility, and in doing so, I'm hopefully lowering the probability that Uzi brings it at all in an attempt to counter the Terra Fairy on Tyranitar. Legendary is also here, and he's back with his Choice Band set. I didn't actually get a chance to showcase this in the previous week, so I'm excited to bring it back and see if it'll work for this week. The idea here is simple. Fletchinder can dish out crazy strong priority damage with Brave Bird paired with its Gale Wings ability. It's mostly here to pick up KOs after Hitmontop leaves the field, or clean up if Uzi does manage to remove Tyranitar, but it's also here for pressure. Fletchinder being on the team also forces Uzi to respect a potential Fletchinder and Garchomp lead for Tailwind and Earthquake, which narrows his options even more. Fletchinder and Garchomp clicking Tailwind and whatever move invalidates a number of Uzi's more offensive leads, especially anything involving Typhlosion. With Terra Steel on the Garchomp, it also makes Dragapult and Whimsicott a lot more scared to come on lead, since Terra Steel neutralizes their more common attacks. At this point, you can see that I'm really trying to push Uzi into bringing that Trick Room mode so that I can just freely get my coaching boosts. Theoretically, I could bring Garchomp in the back to clean up if it's faster than what Uzi's actually brought to the match, but about 75% of the reason it's even here is just to scare Uzi with my fake Fletchinder and Garchomp lead. And finally, we have Scyther. Scyther is actually a really solid defensive tank into Uzi's team, especially with Terra Water and Eviolite. It's so hard for him to remove that it can actually substitute in for Tyranitar and allow me to execute the same strategy, just with coaching on the Scyther. It's a little bit more clunky since Scyther outspeeds Hitmontop, so I'm probably attacking with Scyther first, but it could be an effective switch up. Scyther does have Protect this week, so I can always Protect first since coaching does go through Protect. Scyther is also a really solid option for me to have in the back because it'll take multiple hits to remove, making it a lot easier for me to get positive damage trades into things like the Gallade, Araquanid, and maybe even the Dragapult. If Tyranitar and Scyther are on the field at the same time, then Uzi may have to make a difficult decision on which Pokemon to actually knock out because of the natural bulk. He doesn't have many options to knock out both Pokemon at the same time. So to sum it up, the game plan is to beef up Tyranitar with coaching from Hitmontop, who will also have other tools like Wide Guard, for things like Dragon Darts, Eruption and Sludge Wave, and Feint to break opposing Wide Guard and Protect. We can use that as a lead in Game 1, and bring things like Scyther and Fletchinder to clean up the rest of the KOs. If that works in Game 1, we can switch things up and lead Scyther and Hitmontop and all in on the Scyther setup. In the back, we can bring Tyranitar plus whatever we feel like will be the best adjustment to what Uzi actually brings. Clefable is nice if we know Tyranitar or Scyther will be difficult to take down based on Uzi's team composition, and we have Garchomp as a wholesale adjustment if we go to a Game 3, but ultimately Garchomp is there to bluff Tailwind and Earthquake shenanigans. That is the game plan this week, but let's talk about what we can expect from each of the Pokemon on Uzi's roster if they are brought to this match so we can be as prepared as possible. Uzi's most obvious big damage mode is the Whimsicott and Typhlosion, with Whimsicott setting Sunny Day and Tailwind for Typhlosion. Typhlosion loves firing off big fire type attacks such as Heat Wave, Eruption, and Overheat. For Hisuian Typhlosion, it's nice that it is also a ghost type, so it has big shadow balls too. But that is also a huge drawback this week. As we already discussed, Typhlosion's offensive capabilities are pretty limited by the existence of Tyranitar. We have 2 different super effective attacks into Typhlosion, and we also have the Assault Vest to neutralize that special attack output. And if that wasn't enough, we also have our own Tailwind and Garchomp mode. I do not expect to see Typhlosion today. Whimsicott is still very good on its own and still offers great utility to help support something else, like the Dragapult. Dragapult is naturally fast, so it doesn't really need the Tailwind, but you could instead decide to invest more into its attack and bulk, or even its special attack. Dragapult is a really neat Pokemon in draft leagues because it has the potential to be run physically or specially with a pretty respectable special attack stat. Dragapult also gets access to a ton of utility moves from Reflect and Light Screen to status moves like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave. And then of course there's the turbo offensive choice band option with powerful moves like Dragon Darts, Outrage, and Phantom Force. Ultimately though, Dragapult has a pretty bad matchup into Tyranitar. It has been a star on Uzi's roster, so we could definitely see it this week, but I don't foresee it being a problem to disrupt our game plan. On the slower side, Uzi has two Pokemon that can set Trick Room with Gallade and Malamar. Piloswine and Araquanid are the two main Trick Room sweepers. Wolfie has Mamoswine and did surprise us with a Choice Scarf set back in week 4, but Piloswine doesn't have nearly as much speed, which makes it better for Trick Room. And it gets a ton of bulk from being able to hold an Eviolite. Piloswine also doesn't get as much attack, but with the Oblivious ability, it blocks Intimidate, and that Ground Ice offensive typing still threatens our Tyranitar for a lot, especially if we had gone for its classic Flying Terra type. Araquanid, on the other hand, has super powerful Water-type offense, and its Water Bubble ability boosts that damage even further, while also protecting Araquanid from one of the main ways physical attacks can get cut, by preventing a burn. While Araquanid can go for liquidations, lunges, and leech lives, it also offers really impactful utility with something like Wide Guard. We have Rock Slide and Earthquake, and it's always nice to have something that can protect your Pokemon from spread damage. We've covered for that this week with Feint on Hitmontop, and to stop both of these physical attackers, we have that coaching as well. No Trick Room? No problem for Gallade or Malamar. I'm actually really nervous about Gallade because it's a very powerful physical attacker when you consider its sharpness ability that can boost up cutting moves, such as Sacred Sword and Psycho Cut. I think Gallade is one of Uzi's best options into us this week, so it feels like something we definitely have to prepare for. Sacred Sword will ignore my defense boosts from coaching, and Psycho Cut has an increased critical hit rate, which would otherwise be another way to get around those defense boosts. On top of that, Gallade also learns a ton of coverage cutting moves like Aerial Ace, Leaf Blade, and Aqua Cutter, so we need to stay diligent. Gallade also gets Justified as an ability, so whenever it gets hit with a Dark-type attack, its attack stat increases by 1 stage. Dragapult learns Beat Up, so fast Beat Up is on the table for this week, and if we can't knock out that Gallade before it gets +4 to its attack, we could be in trouble. Malamar is an interesting option this week with its Contrary ability inverting all stat changes. What this means is that if we tried to intimidate it, Malamar would actually get an attack boost. This combos super well with the move Superpower, a 120 base power fighting type attack that normally drops the user's attack and defense, but Malamar gets the boosts here instead. It also gets a funny signature move called Topsy-Turvy that reverses all stat changes on the target. There are tools that both Malamar and Gallade can use to threaten the Tyranitar mode, but ultimately I think that Tyranitar gets a knockout into both of these Pokemon easily enough that Uzi is going to have a hard time finding a good position for them, and for them to survive long enough to actually find maximum value. That leaves Berserker, Toxtricity, and Dunsparce. Honestly, Dunsparce doesn't really offer much into our team, and since Uzi hasn't brought it at all this entire season, I'd be really surprised to see him try it now. Berserker and Toxtricity, though, are the two pieces that I think are the most annoying to our terastallized Terra Fairy Tyranitar. Tyranitar threatens a one-hit knockout into both of them with high horsepower, but not before they're dishing out good damage into us. Overall though, Berserker looks pretty bad on paper into a lot of the strategies we could go for. It's very slow, and outside of specifically threatening Terra Fairy Tyranitar, it doesn't accomplish much. There's also not a whole lot of synergy I am seeing with Berserker's signature ability, Steely Spirit, which would boost the power of Steel-type moves on Uzi's side of the field by 50%. I'd be surprised if he brought Berserker this week. Toxtricity is a lot more likely to come, so it's up to me to make sure that if Toxtricity comes, Tyranitar can either avoid terastallizing in front of it, or can get enough value that the other pieces on our team can clean up after Tyranitar is knocked out. Toxtricity has the hidden ability Technician, but most of the moves it uses are over a base power of 60, so wouldn't actually get the benefit of the additional damage from Technician. Punk Rock is cool because it increases the power of Toxtricity's sound-based moves by 30%. It loves running moves like Hyper Voice, which would get value out of that ability, but Sludge Wave and Discharge are also attacking possibilities. In conclusion, Uzi's best Pokemon this week are probably the Dragapult, Whimsicott, Gallade, Piloswine, and Toxtricity. Nothing super jumps out at me as something that is a must bring in that 6th Pokemon slot, but I could see any of Malamar, Araquanid, or Berserker coming to the match this week depending on what Uzi's game plan is. Hopefully though, we can execute on our strategy and get another win on the board. So let's find out. For our match, Uzi has Dragapult, Araquanid, Gallade, Toxtricity. We also see the Piloswine and the Whimsicott. So kind of two pieces that I expected. The Dragapult and the Whimsicott are going to be faster than my entire team, but that's okay because the rest of the team should be relatively slower in terms of the Piloswine hitting like super slow. And then the Gallade could set Trick Room here, but I'm not as pressured by something like the Toxtricity. It's a little bit nerve-wracking to try to lean into the Tyranitar here, just knowing that I am Terra Fairy. But we do have the Assault Vest, so I think even if this Toxtricity is holding some type of poison move, I think we'll end up being okay. Obviously, Uzi knows that my Tyranitar is Terra Fairy, so that is something that can't necessarily catch him by surprise, but I think we should still be able to pretty comfortably lean into the Tyranitar as well as the Hitmontop. And if there's anything else that gets led, I feel like just being able to have Coaching Pressure and Knockoff is going to be amazing into basically everything else. If I'm really nervous, I can just go ahead and Terra the Tyranitar, but then of course, like in the back, we do have the Fletchinder as well as the Scyther, and if we need to, we can set Tailwind. I think this is going to be a hopefully good lead for us. We'll see what it is though. If it is just the Dragapult and the Whimsicott, which would be able to set Tailwind, and then a lot of Uzi's pieces would be faster than my team. It's actually just the Araquanid. Okay. So Araquanid is really weird. It's not the fastest thing, but it does have the clear amulet. So that is not going to let us land this Intimidate drop. Araquanid is Terra Electric. There isn't really a whole lot that is actively stopping me from just being able to go for something like the Terra Fairy on the Tyranitar. I'm really hoping that I don't just get randomly got by something like a Taunt. But I think it's pretty safe for me to just go for Terra Fairy, go for Rock Slide here, see if I'm able to actually get a coaching boost. If not, then I can always just go for something like a close combat later. But I don't feel super uncomfortable ripping the Terra here, just knowing that the Araquanid could be able to do some things to this Tyranitar. I think just any sort of attack, obviously, from this Araquanid in terms of like a bug type attack is going to be doing good damage. The water type attacks are going to be doing good damage. But it is just a Tailwind, and so I actually am able to get this coaching off for free, which is really good for us. Araquanid is usually going to be a physical attacker, I think, in this case. So just being able to get some good damage down onto both of these Pokemon is really nice. I don't know if actually with the Tailwind, this Araquanid ends up becoming faster than I think it does. It's because there is only like a 20-point difference in between the speed for Tyranitar and Araquanid. But the coaching boost is going to definitely help me a lot. I think I just want to go for maybe like a knockoff into the Araquanid. And honestly, as long as I'm allowed to, I might just... Shoot, even one more coaching boost actually would do like a stupid amount of damage. I don't think I'm able to get this off though before... I guess I could have used Faint, but... Oh, the Wide Guard. Ah, okay, so... Now I know that this Araquanid has Wide Guard, and the Whimsicott's gonna go for Taunt, so we're actually getting some really nice information here. It's Wide Guard, it has Protect. Obviously, Tyranitar can't really do anything at this point. Oh, well, I forgot I clicked Knockoff there, so we do actually just get rid of it, which is super nice. It would have almost been better if I hadn't, but Whimsicott does have Tailwind, Taunt. It's also holding a citrus berry, so that's also good information. And now what's in the back here? We have 2 turns of Tailwind to stall out. And depending on what it is, we're either going to be really happy or maybe a little sad. In Tailwind, I think everything is going to be faster than my Tyranitar. Because we've bulked it down a lot, I should expect that things like Piloswine and definitely this Gallade will be quite a bit faster than me. I'm honestly just going to keep going for things like knockoff and close. Is there anything that we can actually do here? I don't think so. What do I have in the back? I have Fletchender and I have Scyther. I think I just keep going after the Gallade. I think I leave the Whimsicott alone. It's a pretty high likelihood that this Whimsicott has like Moonblast and maybe some type of weather changing option. But since there's no Typhlosion, it feels even less likely that there is going to actually be a weather option. And I think knowing that there's also the Helping Hand now, this is even better. The defense boost really coming in clutch. Close combat's gonna do a little. I probably should have angled that into the Whimsicott because I'm pretty sure at +1 we actually do just get the knockout onto the Gallade. And so knockoff will finish it off. And now we only have 2 more Pokemon left. I gotta make sure I have all my notes here. Whimsicott having Helping Hand is actually kind of scary. Now the last Pokemon is going to be the Dragapult. So this makes a lot of sense. Dragapult is going to be quite a bit faster than the rest of the team. This Dragapult is Terra Fairy. So I could see a world where I kind of just try to get any sort of damage into it. I fortunately can't really hit it very well. They have 1 more turn of Tailwind. Bandit Fletchender is going to hurt a lot. I think I am just going to go split the damage. If the Dragon Ball takes me out, it's not the end of the world. I would kind of like to see what item it has, so if I am able to land this knockoff, then it would be quite nice to see if it's like Choice Band or something else. But it does have the Terra Fairy. But as far as I can remember, I don't think Dragapult has anything that actually does threaten us for a whole lot. And it does have Phantom Force. It's kind of too bad that our Hitmontop actually doesn't get knocked out here, but at least I get a little bit of damage down into the Whimsicott as we just like, yeah. Close combat really helps out there. I think now I know maybe just to go after the Whimsicott, but I still think it's better for me to just try to hit the Dragapult. Because if for some reason we were able to hit the Dragapult on this turn, it is kind of nice. Just to get the knockout if like we did survive an attack, but Hitmontop shaking off the taunt is actually really funny. I don't think that it's going to actually do like a tremendous amount here. I think we just hit the Rock Slide if we can hit it. And then oh boy. Really hope the Scyther can survive something. It is Life Orb though, so I think we just bring in the... Okay. Oh, that's kind of nice. All right, yeah, we just bring in both of these pieces and I think have a fun time. We aren't faster naturally, but that's why we have Gale Wings on Fletchender. We can hit this Dragapult with a Brave Bird. And honestly, should be able to just like get the knockout with the dual wing beat onto the Whimsicott too. I kind of just have to hope that neither of these Pokemon end up getting knocked out on this turn, and hopefully like the Brave Bird with the Choice Band will be enough to knock out this Dragapult, and then we will be able to get the cleanup onto the Whimsicott as well. Or at least that's the hope. I think anything could happen here since I still don't know what the rest of this Dragapult moveset is. And since it's Life Orb, it could change up its move. It's just going to be a Tailwind, and that is hopefully not going to matter because we do get the— oh my gosh, it's so close! I really thought we would be getting the KO there. Well, at least it knocks itself out with Life Orb Recoil, but that was way too close for comfort. Oh my goodness. Now I know though, okay, Choice Band, Brave Bird does not actually KO this Dragapult, so I am going to have to consider that for the next game. But that was way too close for comfort. Knowing those calculations though, I do wonder if that means that Uzi might just like lead the Dragapult for next time, but like, we won game 1 at least. In game number 1, the game plan of just beefing up the Tyranitar did work. And I would love to revisit that, but I am a little bit nervous that Uzi is going to switch up the game plan, maybe end up leading something like the Dragapult right off the get-go with the Whimsicott, and then, yeah, I think that's possible. If not, though, then like the Scyther is one of the faster things on the field. It's just a really hard call. Knowing that this Dragapult does have Dragon Darts kind of makes me think I could bring the Clefable. Ooh. I think I will do this, bring in the Tyranitar, and then, I don't know. I feel like Fletchinder was a little bit of a letdown. But I don't know if it's better for me to have the Clefable. Oh, but you know what? If Toxtricity actually makes an appearance, the Terra Ground is going to be super nice. I think we'll try it. It's also very possible that Fletchinder would be the better call, but I think if we can actually get into a position where we get enough boosts off onto this Scyther, then maybe we'll be fine. But it is actually the Piloswine and the Gallade that do make an appearance at the very beginning. And this will be important to see. Alright. That is interesting. So Piloswine has Oblivious then. So I can't taunt it, I can't intimidate it. Scyther really realistically should be faster than both of these Pokemon, but I really don't want to get got by something just out of thin air. I kind of wonder if it would be like an angle to actually... oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I hope this is gonna be good enough. I'm worried now that like this Gallade actually has... I'm pretty sure that Gallade is I'm going to have some type of grass type move, but it is actually going to be a Rock Terra. I did know that. I ran out of time and then I kind of stopped thinking. It is just Rock Slide here from the Gallade. Really good information for me to know. I can just Wide Guard on the next turn as long as I don't actually get, you know, flinched. But for now, it's just some damage. And Hitmontop does actually get the coaching boost off. It's gonna help actually against both of these Pokemon, which will be quite nice. Yeah, so perfect Terra for me. It gets the defensive Terra against both of these Pokemon. And I can honestly just start to hit things. I think a close combat into, honestly, both of these Pokemon is going to be pretty nice. I could also just wide guard here if I felt like kind of the biggest issue. I think I'm gonna do this. Yeah. It's still pretty fast, and obviously if I get Rock Slide flinched here, it's not amazing. But this Galate's doing very little. I do get flinched, so... Oh, I get double flinched! Okay, but... Okay, but Uzi misses high horsepower, so I am just kind of gonna go... I'm gonna do the same thing, though. I'm gonna deal with this pile of swine and wide guard here. I just can't get flinched on this turn. This would be pretty devastating. I would still like to get the double knockout, so maybe it would have been better for me to actually go for damage, but I think that this hit on top, if it does actually get eliminated, then I can bring in the Clefable and I can go for some Follow Me. I have Heal Pulse. I have a lot of ways that I can kind of deal with this. Oh, see? Now I think I would have really liked to actually hit that. It is going to be the Dragapult, so maybe I should have just gone for the double here. I give away that I have wide guard, which is not fantastic, but I do actually go after the pilot. Swine and don't get the KO, which is wild. Alright, so it hits the high horsepower this time around. I'm still able to get through that, but obviously it's kind of not amazing that I'm in this position. But I think there's no Tailwind. If I lose the Scyther here, it's not the end of the world. Because I should be faster than the... Oh, that's crazy. Phantom Force does actually dodge out the attack, but this should be enough to pick up the Piloswine. Coaching here would be a little bit of a waste because I don't think that our Scyther is actually going to get enough value out of it. I'm not going to be able to hit something before this Dragapult likely ends up taking me out on this side. But this fourth and final Pokemon is the Toxtricity, so I'm a little sad that I actually don't have the ability to hit this, but I kind of wonder if there's a world where I just go for the feint to try to pop the air balloon, and then we do have our Tyranitar that can come in and actually just like get a high horsepower into this Toxtricity. Because the Tyranitar would be faster, and the fact that there's no Whimsicott that got brought to this game is a huge saving grace for me. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to get that, but wait, just kidding! Feint is going to break the Protect, so we actually do get a chance to break the Protect and also pop the air balloon, which is lovely. Phantom Force picks up the Scyther, which isn't like a super big surprise to me, but now I have to be really careful. Toxtricity likely is going to be faster than my Hitmontop, not by a lot, but I think if there's a way that we can actually like, I think I need to get the Tyranitar in. I wish I had Protect for this very reason. Luckily, this Dragapult doesn't get anything that's going to be super impactful, but I can still go for like high horsepower here. I can try to get a coaching boost off onto the Tyranitar and then bring in the Clefable, which would be great. It's possible that this Dragapult just goes for Phantom Force again, so I would like to try to get as much mileage out of this Hitmontop as I possibly can, and I think going for the coaching here is likely the best route for me to hope to keep this Tyranitar alive. There is still that Gallade in the back that I'm definitely nervous about, but if Follow Me available, that's one way that I can help protect the Tyranitar. If Uzi ends up still going for spread damage with the Gallade and it's just Rock Slide, then That would definitely be a problem, but I love that we see this Gallade come back in. That way we can hit the high horsepower here. And with the Dragon Ball going for Protect, I'm really surprised that Uzi's gonna let me just have this. We're gonna get a free coaching boost onto our Tyranitar, which is so key. And we can just hit high horsepower into, I think, both of these Pokemon. So nice knockout onto the Gallade, and then we just have to deal with the toxicity in the back that we already popped the air balloon for. So I think we're in like a pretty good spot, all things considered. Obviously, the toxicity can protect on this next turn, so that's something that like I don't love. And I'm a little bit nervous about my Clefable's ability to actually close out this game. We have Moonblast, so that is something that will help. But the biggest issue is definitely this toxicity. But I think it's kind of fine if I just go for like either a coaching, or I honestly could have gone for Faint into the toxicity as well. So if I was worried about it protecting, then I very well could have just gone for break the protect, go for the high horsepower, get the knockout, and then we're just dealing with the Dragapult. But this is still pretty risky. Hopefully Uzi just doesn't protect, or this is going to be a... It's a Helping Hand Toxtricity set? That's crazy! Oh my goodness. Okay, so Helping Hand to boost up the power of the Dragon Darts, but my Tyranitar is going to take that like an absolute champion. We still get another coaching boost, which is going to beef up this Tyranitar even more. We get the high horsepower to KO the Toxtricity, and then hopefully we just go for Follow Me with the Clefable, and then smack the Dragapult. I'm so happy that our prep worked out this week. Maybe. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because it's still a Pokemon, but I think we might do it. I'm just going to go for knockoff now, and honestly, if he gives it to me... oh, this is so risky. I would actually really like to bring in the Clefable here, but I don't want there to be a reason why I'm, like, not able to... Wait, there's no risk in this, right? Because then my Tyranitar actually takes both Dragon Darts. I think there's no risk in this. If it Phantom Forces, it's invisible. So I just miss my attack on the Tyranitar, and my Clefable gets in for free to follow me on the next turn. Or we take 2 Dragon Darts because Clefable is immune, and we still survive to the end of the turn. Could get the Heal Pulsar to follow me now, and the knock after the Dragapult, and we seal a deal! That's it! We went 2-0 this week! I can't believe it! We did it! Truly so satisfying to see our prep for this week pay off. It felt like we were in total control of the match as well as the pace of each of those games. And I feel for Uzi because I've been on the receiving end of this, but I'm just so happy we were able to get another win in the season, and our game plan really was almost flawless. In Game 1, Uzi leads Araquanid and Whimsicott, which is super strong into us because under Tailwind, Araquanid is likely outspeeding my Tyranitar. And I also feel forced to Terrastalize the Tyranitar, which I ultimately don't mind doing because I know that the Terrastalization is going to be good in the long run for game number 1. But we get away with even more than that on the first turn since Uzi protects the Araquanid and I get a coaching boost for free. On turn 2, the taunt was great from Whimsicott to stop Hitmontop from going for additional coaching boosts onto Tyranitar. But what Uzi doesn't realize is that we planned for this and we only needed 1 coaching boost to make sure we were achieving the damage goals set for Tyranitar in this game. And since we don't get baited into going for Rock Slide into the Wide Guard from Araquanid, we are rewarded for the first KO of the game, and we're pretty far ahead at this point. There is a point that I have to give UziGunner major credit for identifying when he was behind, where he goes for a Helping Hand and Psycho Cut, fishing for a critical hit with Psycho Cut from the increased critical hit chance. But luckily Tyranitar dodges that crit, so like, whew! So happy for that one. I still could have made that endgame from game 1 just a little bit cleaner had I clicked Faint into the Gallade on the turn that Hitmontop went for the close combat. And I could have clicked Terra Blast on Tyranitar into the Dragapult instead. It ultimately didn't end up mattering because Dragapult went for Phantom Force, but in the case that it goes for something else like Dragon Darts, Tyranitar using Terra Blast covers for the Terastallization on Dragapult just a little bit better. A very small optimization thing. In Game 2, turn 1 played out beautifully, even though I almost timed out. The Terra Water on the Scyther ended up being the perfect defensive Terastallization, so I could survive the Rock Slide and Icicle Crash and also make sure that I got the coaching boost onto the Scyther. From there, it almost felt like smooth sailing, even if in Game 2, I got double Rock Slide flinched. I do get a little too surprised at how little damage the Piloswine is taking because I forgot it could hold an Eviolite, and in that case, I should have gone for dual Wing Beat on the Scyther instead. It also saves me from taking defense drops from clicking close combat, but I got a little too enticed by the super effective button. I also forgot that the Gallade was choice scarfed even though I knocked it off in Game 1. Oops. Had I remembered that, I think I could have swapped in the Clefable sooner to lock the game. Clefable wanted to be in front of either the Gallade or the Dragapult to protect Scyther and Tyranitar. Either way, we got the victory, and GG's once again to Uzi. Despite the fact that I gave him such a tough matchup to deal with, he still made some really smart decisions while we were in the match, and I think the air balloon tech on Textricity was amazing for this matchup. Now we only have one more week left in the Wolfe Draft League regular season, and I'm going to give it my absolute all to see if we can finish this season with another win. Thank you all so much for supporting me so far in this season, and I hope you have all enjoyed these videos just as much as I've enjoyed making them and playing these matches out for you. I hope I'll see you all next week where we take out Mountay and the Immunity Idols for our final week in match. See you then! Under Tailwind, the Aranaquinid. I can't say that. In Game 1, Uzi leads the because under Tailwind, I'm laughing because I know I'm gonna say it wrong. Oh my god. How is it that I've said this Pokemon right the entire time that I am recording? And it is now in game, I can't because I'm laughing again at it. It's so stupid. I can't. Okay. Whew, I'm fine. This is not that funny, but I'm really tired and it is 2:30 a.m.